let me know when you're ready. Yeah, when I text you and you were like, "Hey, Tim's right around the corner," he literally, he was like, "I think that's Tim in that Tesla," and he's turning. And then he comes out. He's like, "Yeah, I'll let you guys in." He was doing the chairs, and then he was like, "I gotta go open up the other one." I was like, "Oh," he's like, "Just don't let anybody in." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then it's like 2 minutes before 12, people were knocking. I was like, 2 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that always happens. My parents sometimes come and help us out, and they're here like 9, 10, and they're like, "Someone wants a 4-pack." I'm like, "Just sell it to them." Yeah, but my parents are like, "Yeah, go."
Venmo $100 to the personal account.
Yeah.
All right. What's going on, folks? Welcome to the Lemonade Podcast. I am your host, Frank, along with Matt and Mike. Here at the Lemonade Podcast, we go by the same. When life gives you lemons, we make lemonade, and we pour it onto the world. And with that, we hope to encourage, inspire, and empower not only those of you tuning in, but our guests themselves. And today's guest is Dali. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having us. We're back here at Chula Vista Brewery. I feel like this is pretty much like our home away from home now.
Thank you.
You've had us at this location, the one in Eastlake, not Lakeside, as I originally said it, no, out in Eastlake. But you guys have always welcomed us with open arms, allowing us to do our little shows, from the beginning. Mike, stop making noise. That's Mike. Say hi, Mike. Just say hi.
Hi.
There he is. But it's always a pleasure coming through. Shout out real quick, as we always do, to Elise. She's the one who introduced. She was with you guys.
Yeah.
Was.
She's still family. Yeah.
Okay, no, of course, and she's always great. So shout out to you, Elise. I know you're gonna hopefully hear this, or at least watch, whichever one though. But thank you for having the whole Lemonade team. Everybody's here today, which is great. Shout out to my nephew Waldo.
Hi.
And Christina. Say hi, Christina.
Hello.
There she is. No. So we're here to tell your side of the story.
Yeah.
As to just the whole Chula Vista Brewery, your involvement in it, and whatnot. And also to clear up some rumors, because as if anybody knows who's been watching, we did address a little bit of that on the wrap-up for Season 2.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for having us again here at Chula Vista Brewery on 3rd. If you're in San Diego, come through, tell them that we sent you, and that's about it. And make sure you tip. Anyway, so, well, how's everything?
Yeah, it's been great. Here at 3rd Avenue, we're about to hit our 6-year anniversary Friday for Cinco de Mayo. So we're going to have mariachi here. We're going to have DJ, JC1, and Mariachi Diamante de San Diego. So a little bit of the mariachi band that's been with us that we use every Sunday here at 3rd Avenue. If you come out on Sundays, we have mariachi from 3 to 7. So when Tim and I got married, we had a mariachi band in Rosarito. But we were so busy taking pictures and doing the whole, you got to run here, you got to run that by the time we got back in the hall, the mariachi was over with. So we missed it. So when we opened up 3rd Avenue, I figured what a better way than to have mariachi in the front, let the community know we're here, just kind of open the doors.
For sure.
And, that same band that we booked that day has been with us every weekend since we've opened. So shout out to them. They're amazing. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure. Did you hear that, Mike? He heard it? It was fine.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Especially just to have someone from the beginning, and to just to have everyone part of your team. I know people come and go every time, but the people that stay, that's always special, especially when you commemorate something like 6 years, here. So you, once again, your Chula Vista Brewery here on 3rd Avenue, and then the one on East Lake.
Yeah.
What's the address here, real quick?
294 3rd Avenue, Chula Vista, California, 91910.
Dope. Hey, can you get noise control? Just let them know to keep their engines down. No, I'm just fucking with you. No. Okay, great. So tell me, how is it that you got into the brewery business?
So for me, this was Tim, my husband being a true sailor and loves to drink. and travel around the world, drinking beer. He would always go to different ports. So our whole relationship was him always being deployed. That's just the Navy community for you. And so even when we first got together, shortly after we started dating, he went on like a 10-month deployment.
Wow.
And he had just gotten back after 9/11 too. So, just constantly coming and going. So he would always come home and say, I had this really good beer and I want to brew this and I want to do that. And, he always jumped from like real estate into different things. So I was like, okay, this is another one of his ventures. But then once I saw he was really serious, I was like, okay, let's buckle down. Once he really signed the lease, I would say, for the location, I realized, okay, he really means business. Like, I gotta support him. And so this has been our venture since 2014. You know, just the two of us building it out, no investors, just true family-owned business, just him and myself. And, you know, our boys have been part of our journey with us, you know, seeing us build everything out from the ground up
that's
since
amazing.
the beginning. And for me, it was, you know, when we had our ribbon cutting here, you know, back in the day, he looks at me and he's like, hey, I gotta go. And I was like, what do you mean you gotta go buy cups or ice? Like, you gotta go to the store. Where he was like, no, I have to leave in 2 weeks for a deployment again.
Right.
And so I was like, what? Like, we just literally had our grand opening. You know, I had my full-time gig. I come from a background of healthcare administration.
Okay.
And so for me, you know, that's been my journey, just, you know, having his back and us just supporting each other and growing the business and working together.
No, that's amazing because you talked about your family, you know, keeping that, having your kids watch you build something from the ground up, have them being involved, being part of it. It's the legacy part, you know, which is very important. I know nowadays we talk about that. I talk about that with the team at times, even my friends, you know, what are we going to leave behind, especially for our little ones, you know. Yeah. It's funny because I was just telling my daughter the other day, I was like, yo, whenever you go anywhere, you try to do your best to leave it better than you found it.
Exactly.
You know, and I think doing something like this, building a legacy is part of that, you know. Creating more jobs, you know, the entrepreneur spirit that you have. And that's something that I wanted to touch on, you know, how your journey as a partner, but also your own personal journey as a Latina, you know, entrepreneur, how that's been for you.
Yeah. You know, for me, I feel like it's been a really fun ride. The camaraderie in this industry in terms of beer, you know, everyone's super supportive. Everyone helps each other. It's been really, really fun to be a part of. And for me as a woman, I feel like, you know, a lot of the times for me, I'm like an introvert at heart, so I like to kind of just let my work speak for itself. I think that's a culture thing for me too, like my background, you know, we're taught to like, you got to work hard and you know, to get what you want. And so for me, I always had that mindset, like you got to let your work speak for itself. So I didn't want to be like in front of the cameras and the face. And, you know, Tim is really good at that. You know, you see Tim on the news all the time. And so for me, you see me more on the back end of stuff. But for me, it's, you know, realizing, hey, I don't have to be so shy, or I could, you know, definitely own my strength and my power in what I do in my work and be proud of that and not be feeling like I can't speak up for myself and trying to, you know, just not have that voice. So really one of the things that I've learned in this journey is really, you know, be confident and use your voice and don't be afraid to ask, because if you don't ask, you won't get.
Yeah, closed mouths don't get fed. Yeah. And Tim is very charismatic. You know, it's very, at least for me, what I've found it to be from the I think we spent like an hour just chopping it up, right? And his journey, he's very giving. He'll help because he understands that journey was tough without help. So I know that he talked about this in an episode we had when he had him on for the season 1. He was really like, yo, anybody that comes through, I'm more than willing to help them because I know what that's like. I may not have had that too much. So now you touched upon that as well. Yeah. Just that community has been so helpful. Yeah. And it's, once again, I think it's part of that legacy that we leave, you know, with the community and the brewery community and the Latino community, you know, the Black community, all of that, entrepreneur, you know, community, all those people from time to time, they're going to need a little bit of a handing help. Hey, some advice, you know, they may not take it, use it right then and there, but maybe keep it in their back pocket. And then later on be like, oh, hey, I remember when Dali was XYZ. Yeah. You know, it's very important, especially when we begin to grow. You know, it's very important when we begin to build something from the ground up. Yeah. The vision. Yeah. Tim had it. I'm going here and there. I see these beers. I want to try my own. Lay the ground floor for that, and as we continue to build the community coming in and pitching in for things, and having someone like you, a partner that's very supportive, that understands military is very demanding, you know, especially at a time like 9/11, well, I'm sure he was just in and out, you know, with family. Yeah. That too, like you have to take, the both roles.
Control and ownership, right?
Just take lead. All of that. So, but it really speaks, I feel, in my personal opinion, that it speaks really highly of you, just, the person that you are. And I don't know you.
Thank you.
But your journey, just your spirit, every time we come in, you're so welcoming. It's amazing. Open arms, but it really says something to me about the person that you are. And you spoke about that community and you being part of that community because you understand how important community is in anything we do, especially something like this.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about our venues is you come into either location and you'll see Tim and I, and a lot of the times not everybody knows who we are, but we love talking to people. It's like, really, tell me what you think of the beer. Or sometimes people will just say, I want to open up this business and I have this idea and I don't know where to start. So Tim and I will, try to give them pieces of advice and jewels,
For sure.
And for us, we'll stop, what we're doing to definitely talk to you. Like if someone wants to meet up with us and, talk to us about an idea they have or how to create a business plan or whatever it is, because I know for us, we didn't necessarily have that support. It's things that we had to figure out throughout our journey. Yep. So for us to be able to have that lending hand, and sometimes all they need is just that positive reinforcement, encouragement, because they already believe in themselves. So they just gotta, just dig in a little deeper and pull that out.
It's wild because before we get into that, Matt, you had a question?
With the success that you've experienced with Chula Vista Brewing and the experience that you've gained as a female, have other women approached you for advice inside this industry? Like, is there a strong community of women in the brewing world here in San Diego, or have you discovered that it's not so much?
That's a great question. I think there is. You have Pink Boots Society, who really supports and advocates, women in the brewing industry going and supporting each other. It's a whole network. It's a whole network of support. You really just encourage each other. If you have questions, you can quickly call someone, text someone, give advice, and vice versa. Sometimes you might have a question, or you might be like, wow, is it slowing down for us just solely across the border? Is everyone going through the same crap I'm going through? And really being transparent. And that's one of the things I love about this industry, is people will really be honest and sincere and transparent. And I feel like other businesses are probably a little bit more competitive, whereas I feel like with our industry, it's a lot more supportive and helping. In terms of females, I've had a lot of females that, when we do markets, they want to say, I have this business that I'm doing, how do I develop it, or I'm growing, well, how about we connect you with this person and let me have you talk to this person. And really it's all about talking to each other and, communicating and networking. It really comes down to that, and really just being supportive. I think that's a really good question. But in terms of the industry, I find it that everyone here is super, in San Diego, open arms always.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then you said earlier your kids have kind of been along for the ride with the building of Chula Vista Brewery.
Yeah.
Have they expressed any interest in getting involved in the business as they get older, or is it something that's still kind of...
That's a really good question. One of my sons, he's over there right now singing in the background. When we first started this journey, they were really little. One of them was like 4, still running around, super energetic. We had grain bags on the ground, and I'm like, where did he disappear to? I would look over, he would be passed out on the grain bag just to sleep, So they are very a part of what we do every day, because they know mom and dad have no days off. Like, it's an everyday thing, day and night, 24 hours a day. So they are a part of that, and I feel like I get really proud when I ask them, like, hey, what do you want to be? You want to be this? You want to be that? And a lot of times they're like, I don't know, but I want to invest. And it's something that's so far-fetched from the mentality that I grew up with. I'm like, oh man, I have been doing a good job with these little minds, Sure. And that's encouraging, because they really talk about, well, I want to make beer, or I want to do this, and just that little business mindset that they're learning, that they're picking up from us, to me is just a beautiful thing. But at the same time, they also see it as mom and dad are working, so.
But it's their part of the daily life. I think it's very important. Once again, I keep saying this, but it's part of that legacy. You leave them behind, and you are their role models. We've talked about this before, where we start at the home. I feel we should start at the home with anything that we do, and by you building what you've built here, the relationship you had not only with your husband as a business partner as well, and within the community, just allows them to see that, like, oh, the community is important. The support is important. Allowing people to come into our business and learn from each other, what we learn from them, all those things that you guys practice has become, a blueprint for them. So when they say, "Oh, what do you want to be when you grow up?" "Oh, I want to be like mom and dad." Because this is what they do. It's very important. And I think it's really, really, really dope.
Thank you. And I think that just to me that resonates what you just said, because it ties back to, like, I remember, growing up, I'm first generation American born here. I come from a Mexican family, and my grandfather, he was from Michoacan, and he worked his whole life just to come down here, pick the fields, to make sure he was able to bring all his 7 kids, get them their green cards, and his whole premise was, I want my kids to have a better life. And I think that just goes generation through generation, right? Like, sure. We want the same for our kids, and everything that, in a sense, we do as a family is to open more opportunities and doors for them, and for their journey to be slightly easier than the previous one.
It's wild because that recently, my daughter turned 17, and I tell her, though she doesn't know this because it's her first experience in life, is like, she's been so many places that at 17 I wouldn't even dream of.
Love it.
She's been up and down the coast, cross country. She's been to Hawaii. She's seen DC. She just went to DC and New York. Like, those things far-fetched when I was that age, but I'm like, you've seen so much. And it comes to, once again, that exposure. And I feel exposure is really important, the exposure that your kids have, when dealing with the business, the exposure that they get from both parents, the good relationships, and obviously we all have our ups and downs, but they see how you guys are maneuvering through all this, and you're still tight-knit, with the family, and then later on the community, you know what I mean? That it just trickles down onto everything you guys do.
That's beautiful.
But the thing that I wanted to touch upon, as you talked about community and encouragement, is obviously exactly what we do here, right, at the Lemonade Podcast. By you allowing us in your space, it was a favor, I feel, from Elise, who was like, I'll talk to my boss and see if, and you seem really energetic about it, like, come on in, like, no big deal. And I'm like, oh, this is dope. Like, I think it's really crazy that our little show was allowed to be in this, in this business that you have going on. But it was a great opportunity, I feel like, for everyone to be in this place, because it's local, people know it, you know what I mean? But it really touched me to be able to be in a place like this, because of the fact that the vision was something like this for what we do. But for it to happen as quick as it did, and for you guys, you and your husband, to be able to give us that opportunity was really that encouragement and that validation of like, hey, these guys are legit, come through. And now going into season 3, our wrap up coming up, you're here with us. You're still having us here. We're becoming part of your community.
Nice.
and vice versa. Anytime we think brewery, at least for me, it's over. And I don't know too much about beer, but my go-to is like, Chula Vista Brewery, because that's who I know, that's who I'm familiar with.
Thank you.
So we truly appreciate it. From I don't know how Matt feels about it. I know Matt loves beer. But I'm really grateful, because just what we were trying to do here is, once again, encourage, inspire, and empower through what we do. Given the opportunities that we have through being just in this space with you, with Tim, it just really, like I said, it validated what we're doing here, with the Lemonade movement and at the Lemonade Podcast.
I think what you guys are doing is amazing. Keep spreading a positive message. I love how you guys meet with, entrepreneurs, highlighting, female-owned, Latino-owned, just any small entrepreneur, because it's hard, to be out there and to decide to go and do something. And kudos to you guys for going on season 3, and, just your growth, the growth that you've had, and how you guys take time out of your lives to, spread positivity, spread a good message, and highlight and let people know, what's going around in the community. And, I really hope you guys keep growing even more. Like, this is really incredible work that you're doing.
Thank you. Slowly but surely. I mean, the team is, sort of at it. Waldo, he'll come around. You know what I mean? When we can, because like you said, take time, out of our lives to make this happen. We're not getting paid. We put into this just
it's
as
a passion.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, for you to have us here, it validates that. It allows us to continue to push forward. Sometimes where I'm like, I don't know if we're doing the right thing or if we're doing it how we're supposed to, but we don't have a blueprint. We just know what we know and we act on it, and we've been growing I've been able to sit down with entrepreneurs, artists, creators, all these people and just have a conversation.
Yeah.
And that's my part selfishly, that I get from it. But to be able to do that for others, to put them on, someone who's just starting out, and like you said, encouraging people, through this it just really fills my heart. So it just continues to grow from that. Matt.
The mic was on the whole time, so I thought I was unmuting it, and I remuted it. But anyways, in Tim's episode, he talked a lot about from his viewpoint, his personal experiences getting the brewery started and up off the ground and the challenges that he faced.
Yeah.
As his counterpart, from your point of view, what was the process like getting the brewery started, going from concept to deliverable product, and like the challenges that you faced in that from your point in the business?
So great question. For us, being Latino and Black, capital was a big issue. Finding capital for us. And, also, we were new in the industry. And it's one of those things where it's like a lot of people feel like, hey, you got to go ask for permission. No, you just got to go and chase after your dreams and believe in yourself, But for us, we got a lot of no's before we got that one yes, but not, sorry. It's a busy 3rd Avenue Sunday.
No, for sure. Hey, this is what it's like, though. It's life.
It's, I would say persistence and dedication and really believing in yourself and knowing that out of that, all of those no's that you're going to get, that one person just has to give you that yes. And that one no, actually probably is doing you a favor because that's just not the right fit for you.
Yeah, it's definitely about perspective. You know what I mean? Because you could take that no and be like, oh, well, there it goes. Yeah. Never mind. My dream is done. But it's like, no, it's fine. It might not have been the best opportunity.
Yeah. And so for us, a lot of, just resources and a lot of networking, a lot of coaching. And, we would go to ask advice to a fellow business owners and they would literally walk us to the door. So we're like, okay, that's not it. But the next person down the suite would take us in their office, show us all the foot traffic stats that we needed for our business plan, things like that, So you find the good and the bad and you chose to run with the good.
For sure.
And for us, coming from, building capital, that was back in 2014. Loans was a big issue, rates were a big issue in terms of financing. Now I feel like we're in a better place. We're still not where we need to be, in terms of providing resources for BIPOC, but we're definitely heading in the right direction. So capital was a big one for us, and then aside from that, just the courage that it takes. And finding the right people as well. Like we were able to have Elise, who was in the team for years, and having people that really provide value to what you're doing, that also believe in you and surrounding you with the right people, with the right energy. I think is really important because it's challenging. It's long hours, and just work that is always continuous, and so not giving up. And for us, I felt like I always came from a background where you don't give up. You just keep going and you find a way, and that one no will lead you to that yes. So definitely just pushing through. And I feel like Tim comes from that Navy mentality where he's just work and commitment and excellence and tires where you just don't give up as well. So I feel like you kind of put both of us together, and we just knew that we were not going to stop till we made it happen. And you really believe in yourself, and at that point, anything that you create with the right people around you, you definitely can build.
No, for sure.
Do you remember when you were testing the waters, so to speak? Do you remember the moment that you got your first piece of positive feedback on what you were trying to do, and what that moment was like for you and Tim?
Yeah, in the beginning, it's really scary because, like you said, you get a lot of no's, and you start doubting yourself, and you're like, wow, am I going in the right direction? Am I doing the right thing? What if we place everything on the line and it doesn't work? But at the end of the day, you really have to listen to that instinct. instinct inside of you to be able to find that strength. Because a lot of the times we listen to our mind, and our mind has so many thoughts and not always the best positive ones.
Right.
I don't know how many thoughts we have a day, so learning to tune that mind out, but listen to your heart and your gut, because your gut is the one that's going to steer you in the right direction. Those yeses were, like I said, that person that opened the doors and took us in their office and showed us the reports. And it's a lot of those repetitive instances where it's like, people say, hey, I love what you're doing, I love your idea, keep going. And at the end of the day, they really do, they get to see at the core who you are, and they know that you're serious, and they know that you're dedicated, and they know that you're committed. Yeah. And like I said, it's a passion and it's a lot of hard work. So
yeah, the passion part.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever, because I have this. When it comes to the whole passion thing, it was something that wasn't in my vocabulary. It's just something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I really liked. I never quit. There's no quit mentality, right? Looking at, if you had told me, at least for me, for photography, if you had told me 5 years ago, like, hey, this is where I would be as far as photography goes, I would have probably not believed you, because when I started, it was just like, oh, this is fun, and I shot everything under the sun, and now I'm a little more specific.
Did you feel that you were good at it?
Yes, in the most humble way. I knew that I had a lot more than what I was started, and I knew that my visions kept growing. But it's also, the good point is, like, when you meet the right people, those people will allow you to grow even more, because it's like they provide you this free space to grow within that. And I've had a few people that I've worked with, that allow me to grow and creatively, which has been great, because it takes you to these places that you never even believe that you could ever see or even think about, and you're like, oh damn, I'm here now. So 5 years without intention, I'm saying this without intention, we're okay, and I'm in a good place. So I'm thinking like, whoa, the next 5 years, because now I'm gonna be more intentional about where I wanna be, the trajectory with that, like where I'm gonna end up. I just feel like it's gonna be on a whole other level, and I look forward to that. So I think being intentional about where you wanna be is very, very important. And I feel like Tim had that from the jump. It's like, hey, I think I have a vision through all his, business, what do you call them?
Yeah, I have a hard time keeping up with Tim. He's constantly he's the vision guy. He's the one that tells us what direction we're going.
And the vision is important. The vision is very important, because without it, you're not going to be able to paint the picture as best you can, for the people to believe you, and then, like you said, they're going to see that what really at the core, what exists there, and they're like, yep, this is somebody like me. Yeah. They see themselves in you. I know you've been there before, or they've been there before, so they could see the potential of what this could become. And for us, this is what it's becoming, and then for you guys, 2 locations now. I don't know if you're working on the 3rd, I believe.
Yeah, it's in the plans. It's in the plans.
You know what I mean? And the growth is there, but that's part of just, once again, the vision, the persistence, and just pushing through any no's and stepping into the yeses and just going from that.
Yeah.
Just from the, in terms of the beer itself, what's the process of imagining the beer, creating the beer, naming the beer, and how involved in that do you get to be?
Yeah. So, we talk about, we set calendars, right? And so we talk about what are we brewing, what time of year is it? You obviously have some beers that are our core beers that we always have on rotation. And then as you get into different seasons, like for example in the fall, Oktoberfest, it's a beer that we make once a year that everyone loves. And so, partaking in, yesterday we released a pale ale in East Lake with Southwestern, the fermentation class that we invited them to come brew. So it was their recipe, and we had the students come out and we talk about, okay, what profiles do you want to get? What direction are we going in? And we do that with anyone that we collab with, or even just with ourselves. What are we looking to get in there? Can we get our hops can we get our hands on a certain type of hop, on a new yeast strain, and so going from there, and also what do we enjoy drinking, and what do we hear from the consumer? What are a lot of the wants that that I hear, you know, because a lot of the times they're like, do you have a sour? I don't have one, but should we consider making a kettle sour? You know, at least one to have on tap.
The answer is always yes.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
I'm a sour guy.
Yeah. Matt is the most sour guy I know.
So, you know, from that, and, you know, in terms of the names, you know, we really sometimes just come up with them on the fly. Yeah. Sometimes we get inspired, like, beforehand, depending on what we have going on, because there's times where, you know, the schedule and the calendar allow for a little bit more breathing room, a lot of times to be a little bit more contemplative on things. And then there's times where, you know, our schedule doesn't allow that because we're just on the constant go. Yeah. And we'll shoot out 4 or 5 things, and then we're like, okay, yeah, we like it. No, we can do without. You know, can Tim pronounce it is always a funny one. We get a kick out of that every time. And so we always say, you know, because we try to always put the Latino, you know, spin on the beer names, because we are in Chula Vista. We're right by the Tijuana border. Yep. So we want to have like chela. You know, a lot of people don't know what chela means.
Right.
You know,
Matt, do you know what chela means? Take a wild guess.
No.
No to both. No.
So chela means beer, slang for beer in Spanish. So if someone tells you, hey, let's go have a chela after work, let's just go have a
all
quick
the
beer.
chelas.
Yeah. And so, you know, playing, but again, we threw the X on there, like for that kind of, you know, Latino, you know, based names that we like to do with our beers. And so, and a lot of it too is, you know, military inspired. Like you see Baker's Beach and Operation Overlord. Those are very military driven because of Tim. So you get the mesh of me coming from the Mexican side and Tim from the Navy community, and then you blend us together. So you'll really see, you know, both items and what we do.
Especially in relations, you know, because black and brown, like for a long time, it was like the opposition, and it was really frowned upon. You know that, you know, within the Mexican community, within the black community, it's like, yo, what are y'all doing? And when you see it come together to build something like this, you know, it's awesome because of how long all that's. How far we've come within all that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
It's like all the stereotypes that we have to break. You know, for me, I felt like growing up as a Latina, you know, a stereotype, statistics say 50% of us will be pregnant before we finish high school. I didn't want to be that stereotype, you know, so pushing through that. And, you know, like I come from a Latino household as well, where my dad's like, I want you to go to college, but you can't leave the house till you get married. So it's a lot of like, you're in America, but with Mexican roots, and I want to let you go, but not too far, you know, so it's like that constant tug and pull, and you know, at the end of the day, it really encompasses everything of like who I am. And so for me, I felt like, you know, going to school was important, you know, making sure we got an education, making sure that, you know, for me, you know, one of the things that the women in my family instilled in me was working hard. You know, the women were always the ones, you know, keeping the household together. The men too, don't get me wrong. But for me, I come from a lineage of just really strong, hardworking women, and I feel like that's kind of where I picked up my sense of, you know, what I do.
I feel like my work ethic I got from my mom, just because I always saw my mom working.
Doing everything.
She was always working. And I'm like, I barely see her, but I knew that like she was like grinding it out, you know, and just thinking about all those lessons that she's taught me, and one of the biggest ones is that work. And I think, once again, going back to the intentionality, just being intentional about what you're doing so that work doesn't go unnoticed or even wasted, you know, all the energy that you're putting, so ensure that the work that you are putting in is going towards a goal and not just kind of like floating around. You know what I mean? It's very, very important. So do we have a question of the day for? Oh, okay. Here we go. Drum roll. Here we go.
I actually have 2 questions. It's a question and then a follow-up question.
Okay. Here we go.
If you were stranded on a desert island and a cooler washed up on the beach and it was full of beer, but it was only one kind of beer, what beer would you want it to be?
That is a really good question, because I feel like if I was stranded, I would drink any type of beer. It doesn't matter what it would be.
Would it have to be a Chula Vista Brewery?
Be anything.
Yeah. Great question. Really hard to just narrow it down to one, because I feel like if you're stranded on an island, you'll drink
the seawater?
Yeah, really good question though. But for me, I mean, I love everything that we brew, obviously. You know, I love our IPAs, I love our hazies. Hazies was something that we took a while to convert to. We weren't so gun-ho on jumping on the hazy ride, you know, it took us a while. And again, it was one of those things that everyone was like, when are you going to have a hazy? When are you going to have a hazy? And we were so resistant to it. And finally we gave in. And now that we've been doing it, you know, we've been really happy with what we're doing.
One day they'll get to the sour. So.
Okay, and then the follow-up question is, you open the lid, and it's a basic beer. It's not craft. What's your go-to?
go-to, like every just.
If you want,
basic as.
Yeah, if you're at a party and all they have is basic beer, and you open that cooler, what are you hoping to find?
Yeah, really, not to be like biased, but I really always have like our beer. So like you go to our family's fridge, you're gonna have Güerita. You go to a family party, you're gonna have a keg of something. That's Chula Vista Brewery. And so for me, I feel like you open our fridge, that's what I have. Right now I'm really enjoying the Pilsner, lighter stuff. I used to be, in the beginning, I used to drink like the Humble, the double IPA, and the IPAs. Now I feel like my stomach can't quite tolerate it so much, so I do like the Pils, the 5%, Pilsners, lagers, super light stuff. And that's kind of where I tend to enjoy right now.
So if you show up to a party and you open the cooler and it's just like Michelob Ultra, Coors Light, Busch, are you offended?
Yes.
Good answer.
To be honest, yeah.
Yeah, some of you kick the fucking cooler down. Just get the shit out of here. And then bring real beer.
Disappointed, more to say.
Do you have a favorite of yours?
I really love the Pilsner right now. I love, the beer we put on yesterday in East Lake, the Pale Ale with Southwestern College. Okay. Very nice. You get some mosaic notes, pale, 5.5%. Really nice and hoppy, but at the end you get a little maltiness right at the end. It's really good. Really enjoyed that.
Why with Southwestern College? Like, what was the whole project?
Funny enough, I didn't know they had a beer course. Okay. For years they've had it, and I had no
We're going back to school.
Yeah, and so
a beer course at Southwestern College.
Oh.
Yeah, and so.
There you go.
There you go. So for years I didn't know they had, and we're neighbors, and so I went there as well. And so they reached out to us one day asking if we would be speakers. We said absolutely. How can we not? Oh, wow. And so I think we've been speakers for 2-3 years now, and so we invited the classroom to brew recently this year. So we were able to get them out to East Lake and really do hands-on training, which to me I feel like, man, it doesn't get better than that. Coming down and brewing in our system and really just seeing the process from beginning to end and providing that knowledge component, that technical component is key because, who goes to Southwestern? People that live in our demographic area. And so, people that can't drive to SDSU or people that can't go to, Mira Mesa or, other colleges that are local to us, San Marcos with brewing programs or whatnot, Right. So really catering to our local community was really, really special.
It's very important. Yeah, I mean, it circles back. Community. You're giving back now when you've gone through from the vision and your no's and then your yeses and the community that you build to help the people who didn't help. But now you're here, now you're giving back. And it's really important, and we love to see it. Yeah. So normally we would toast it with lemonade and maybe here beer. We don't have any today. Maybe we'll get some after. But but thank you, Dali, for having us, the whole team, for always opening up your doors to us, you and Tim, and the whole Chula Vista Brewery staff here on 3rd. If you're ever in San Diego, once again, come through, grab yourself a beer. But thank you again for having us. Thank you for your time, for energy, and for your story. And man, we just keep at it, and we'll see you guys on the wrap up.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Hey.
That's it.
Thank you guys. That was fun. Do you guys want a beer? Yeah, sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you guys like a specific style?
I'll take whatever you recommend.
Okay.
I worked at Stone for like 5 years.
Oh, nice.
I'll take any.
Fruity. Django. Oh.